There we go. Greetings. It's Dr. John Taylor Kent. Welcome to Awakening Israel. On this channel, the purpose of which is to awaken our brothers and sisters in Israel for the purposes of survival. That's what the whole channel is dedicated to. If you want to support the channel, I'm not accepting donations. However, I will accept indirect donations, if you will. I want to give you more value than what you're going to give me, or give us, I should say. So I want you to buy this Bible from Name Publishers. It was first copyrighted in 2015, put into ink, and copyrighted in that form in 2019. So it's a pretty new Bible. It took 5 years alone to get the copyrights from the Queen of England so that Name Publishers could publish the Bible without using the these and the thous and the archaic English that they were insisting had to be used. Yes, I know most of you say it's not a copyrighted Bible. Well, it's not copyrighted in the United States of America, but it's copyrighted around the rest of the world. That was something I learned about 2 years ago. So it is a copyrighted Bible, and that's to protect the work. And the worker does deserve his wages, his labor. Deserves to be compensated. So the proper name version of the King James Bible corrects the errors that Ptolemy II committed in 275 BC. In 275 BC, in Alexandria, Egypt, Ptolemy II translated the Hebrew Bible into Greek. Why? Because most of the Hebrews had become Greek-speaking. They had been Hellenized. You see, in 722, the Assyrians attacked the northern tribes of the House of Israel, and they took everybody out after 3 or 4 incursions, campaigns, however you want to look at those. And they took them out and relocated them. And shortly after that, maybe about 650 BC, the House of Israel, the bulk of the Israelite population, migrated across the Caucasus Mountains. That's why we're called Caucasians. And a lot of them, most of them, went to Greece. So Greece was populated, and a lot of those old Greek philosophers were Israelites in dispersion. And so the vast majority of Israelites speaking Greek, no longer Hebrew. There's a lot to learn. What I want to cover with you today, if I can, is the day of the Lord. When we come across the Bible and we read about in that time, in that day, the day of the Lord, in the latter times, these are all cues that we're talking about this great event that occurs in the future. Now, the great event that's coming to pass here is basically the end of an earth age. That's what we're all facing. And when I mentioned it to the Navajo bus driver about 6 weeks ago up on the reservation, he knew what I meant. And he says, I hope not. I don't even want to think about it because that's going to be bad for everybody. Yes. What happens is that every 12,000 years, it's a little bit off from that. I think it's about 11,800 years. I haven't seen many references to the exact time, but it's approximately 12,000 years. The Earth, our solar system, goes around the Milky Way, goes around the whole galaxy, and when it comes to the spot in the galaxy, there's a bunch of dust, and that dust irritates the sun, and as a result, the sun goes micronova. Now, if you read the Bible, you would understand that the angel of the pit is Apollo, or Apollyon. That's the Greek name. What is the Hebrew name? Abaddon. So, I know you and I think of it as, well, that's in hell. That's underneath our feet. I need you to loosen up your thinking a little bit and realize that it's up above. It's that sun. Apollo, Apollyon, the pit. Well, when that thing goes micronova, it really is hell on earth. The side facing the sun gets pretty crispy, pretty bad. But the electrical energy that goes running around the planet actually peaks on the dark side away from the sun. So it gets pretty ugly pretty fast. And don't worry. Humans have survived this thing for millions of years. About 2.75 million years, mankind, a form of man, has been on the planet. And so this happens about every 12,000 years. So we've been through this many times and we've survived. So if we read the Bible carefully, we will read about these days of the Lord and these events. And if we read those, they are written as if they're discrete events. They could all happen at the same time, same day, same hour. It's possible, not likely. But then they could actually happen in pretty close proximity, which is what I'm afraid is going to happen. And in case you want to know what an earth age is, we turn to the books that the Protestants, that would be my people, saw fit to remove from the Bible in their magnificent wisdom. At least the Catholics kept it. However, I'm not sure about the version that's in the Catholic Bible. I've never examined one. The Douay-Rheims Bible. I've been meaning to get one, or I don't really have room for the extra weight. There's other books I want to buy. Anyway, what I'm getting at is there's a lot of tragic stuff conveyed throughout the Bible on the day of the Lord. And the end of the earth age is upon us. At the time Esdras was written, the angel told him that we were at the end of the earth age, and the earth produces weaker children. In other words, men weren't as strong towards the end of the earth age, which is what we're in. So we're not as strong as we were at the time our nation was founded. If you don't believe me, go read the writings of the founding fathers. They were so brilliant. They wrote at such a high level, so concisely. Their thinking was so good. Read those, and you'll see what real intelligence is. They make me feel puny, because even with a doctorate, I can't write at the level those fellows wrote at. I can get kind of close, but they just did it naturally, normally. They didn't have to work at it. Me, I gotta work at it. So one of these days of the Lord, oh, by the way, human beings at the beginning of the earth age are strong. The earth produces strong children. Yeah, the survivors are going to have to be very strong. And in case you're wondering, we've always gone underground during that period of time. So if we read carefully, we can see the obvious one, Yahshua, who you like to call Jesus, which is a misleading, by the way. It's total an error, totally to mislead you and to misguide you and to feed you a different Christ, if you will, a different Jesus than what the Bible tells us about. He touches his foot down at the Mount of Olives. Okay, that sounds like a day of the Lord to me. Let's see, the New Testament says he comes in a cloud. The same way he left, up in a cloud. He's going to come back in a cloud. With angels, with legions. Okay. In the apocryphal books, he comes from the ocean, from the seas. And we know the seas are symbolic for peoples. Oceans for peoples, for the masses of people. But he comes from the ocean. Interesting. Another perspective. Might that be another day of the Lord? I don't know. We do know that on one of these, there's a big earthquake. Foot touches down on the Mount of Olives. The Mount of Olives splits from the Mediterranean Sea inland quite a ways from the description I read of the Bible. Now, don't take my word for it. Read it yourself and see what the words are, and see if you think it splits north, south, east, west, and how far. Because that's in there, okay? Now, in another part, it talks about an angel dropping a giant millstone into the water. And of course, we have that, well, and then another one, we have an angel dropping what looked like a mountain of fire into the water. Okay. We've got different reports, if you will. And reports, from what I can tell from one of my brainy brothers, means tsunamis. There's reports at different times in different parts of the earth. So by reading the Bible carefully, he and his brothers discerned that this asteroid was going to land in the North Atlantic Ocean in order to create the reports at the different land masses the way it's described in the Bible. It's in there. So, and they also did a calculation as to the size of the asteroid, how big it would have to be to really kind of wipe things out. And another thing is that the Earth is going to heat up like a giant oven. No matter where you are on the planet, it's going to get hot like you're inside an oven when that thing hits. So you'll know it's happened even though the tsunami hasn't even hit yet. It'll just heat up pretty doggone instantly. And then another part of the report is that the Earth's crust is going to crack. It's going to crack. The crust is going to crack all the way around, and this wave of energy cracking the Earth is going to go around a few times. So we know that's part of it as well. There's one in there that I really like because most people miss it. The sun is described as looking like it's covered in sackcloth. Now, what does that mean? How, under what circumstances would our sun look like it's covered in sackcloth? Okay, sunspots. So it's covered in sackcloth. It's covered in sunspots. Meaning there's a lot of different magnetic storms going off, and it's putting off a lot of energy at the Earth. And then there's another thing mentioned in passing about how all of the mammals, from what I could tell, that's what it inferred, go blind. Everyone that's on the surface of the Earth goes blind. So you might want to keep that in mind if you see the sun turn to sackcloth, that you might want to head for shelter underground so you can preserve your vision. And we know that men lived in the caves for a long time because we have all that artwork around the planet in these caves, and the artists drew the pictures of the same stuff all the way around the planet. Pretty much the same stuff. Slight differences, but the themes, the plasma displays were all the same. Oh, by the way, one is the menorah. The menorah is not a Jewish symbol. They adopted that. It's actually one of the plasma displays that will be occurring in our atmosphere when all this stuff is going on. The Earth will be reborn. The Earth gets recycled. That's how life gets to be perpetual. And that's why our keepers don't want us to know real history or the real truth, or to discover the old digs and the old archaeological stuff or the giant skeletons. They destroy all of that. They don't want us to know about the technology that existed, because they can go dig some of it up and go reinvent some of it and use it against us to control us and deprive us of a lot of technology. We are not that advanced. We really aren't. Previous civilizations that were destroyed during these periods we're going through were far more advanced. They had electricity free across the whole planet back then. They had a lot of other stuff going on that we don't even understand very well. You know, you look and remember they destroyed the city of Ur. No, it's another city that's in the Middle East that that ISIS was tearing up. Nineveh, they had some winged statues of lions that were massive, and they wanted to destroy those because we couldn't make those today. And we would recognize, hey, they had a superior technology. We don't even know how they do that. It's like Baalbek. They had superior technologies, but at Baalbek, it's got 3 different layers. The top layer is the building before the last flood, 12,000 years ago. And the middle layer, which is bigger and more magnificent yet, was from the previous building period. So it survived the flood before that, 24,000 years ago. And at the bottom were these massive, huge stones that everything else was built upon. And they were like perfectly cubed, just incredibly magnificent, huge rocks. And of course, those are the evidence of the previous Earth ages. Now, I'm going to give you a very advanced concept I shared with a brother in South Africa and with some other brothers. And I want you to understand that this is conjecture on my part. But my brothers are in agreement. Nobody has disagreed with this yet. It could be wrong, though. And that is that the Earth goes through these cycles and these periods in part as a reflection upon the status of mankind. In other words, our behavior, how we live, what we do, impacts the Earth in a way that influences what's going to happen, how it happens, which lands rise up out of the oceans, which lands sink down and go submerged below the oceans, which places there's rain, and which places there's no rain at all. Which places there's going to be no wind, just absolute calm during this transition. And other places where the winds are going to be going 1,000, maybe even 1,200 miles an hour. Oh, and in case you're wondering, the cedars of Lebanon might be growing again, because a long time ago those cedars were there, the forests were green, a lot of trees, a lot more rainfall. So that gets changed as well. What we do know from the advanced science today is that the Earth, generally speaking, has rotated 90 degrees. I find some people that disagree with that, say we just wobble a little bit. No, we come down 90 degrees, so the North and South Pole come up to the equators and they melt. And it stays that way for a while, and then another event occurs, and in that event, it rotates back up so that North almost is the same place it was during the previous Earth age. And the South Pole goes to the same place as well. I'll take a couple guesses for you here. When the micronova occurs, that is the onset for the Ice Age. That starts it. And that could be accompanied by a flash freeze on the planet. Could be instant. That's how come we have woolly mammoths with food in their mouths and food in their bellies that hasn't been digested. They were flash frozen. They died in an instant. Now, the temperature can change in maybe 4 to 14 hours. So it's relatively quick. And unless you're in the ground pretty deep, you're going to be frozen pretty instantly if you're up. And that means you're either stuck inhaling or exhaling, and that's pretty much it. It should be a fairly peaceful way to go, because it's fairly instant and there's not much you can do about it. The Bible describes several days of the earth. It also describes other parts outside of our solar system, outside of our galaxy, actually. And we believe that in the book of Job, we're reading about other planets that the peoples of this earth came from. Several different star systems out there contributed what we call men to the planet today. We're actually all different species. And I don't know how we got here. I have an idea on some of them, but I don't want to bring it up right now. It might be offensive to some of you. And I don't think you're ready. I don't think you're open-minded enough yet. I've given you quite a bit here already. And it's going to be hard to figure out, hard to swallow, and you're going to have to read the Bible a few times in order to be able to challenge me and prove what I'm thinking, right or wrong. The elite know about the coming event, and they're taking advantage of it and they're manipulating you, and they're telling you, they have you convinced that we are causing this, that we puny men are making this happen because we exhale too much carbon dioxide. And because of that, there's a problem. Well, I got news from you. There was more carbon dioxide in previous ages. There was a time in which the earth was overrun with trees everywhere. Everywhere, trees. The Carboniferous age. It's quite a while back. Some of those trees are still preserved in the bottom of some of these really cold lakes. Anyway, all of the science is bunk. Everything you and I have been taught, including in graduate school, is bunk. Every chance they can get to distort the truth or to disturb the science or to feed us the wrong stuff, that's what they do. Their job is to lie, to deceive, to murder, and to kill. I believe that's what they're trying to do now, is reduce this population disparity because there's a lot more of us than there is of them. And I think to give their offspring a chance to dominate in the next Earth age, they're digging in. And not only that, they're pulling out the stops and genociding us with their soft metals, their biologicals, their electromagnetism, all kinds of stuff they're using against us. So what I want you to walk away from this today is that there are different days of the Lord. I don't think it's all one day of the Lord. I don't see how it can all happen on one day. I think there are several days of the Lord described. And I think we're in for a really wild ride. The evil ones have decided to pull out the carpet from us when it comes to the monetary system and to destroy as many of us as they can. Now, Greg Manarino out of Las Vegas is a retired physician who works the stock market basically and produces videos. He has cautioned us and warned us over and over that they're crashing the system. And they're doing that on purpose. And the idea is that they want to be able to kill as many of us as they can. They want to reduce our numbers. Now, I've got a woman in Canada, Nova Scotia, who claims that we've already had 1 billion sudden deaths that haven't been reported to the public at large because guess who controls the media? It certainly isn't you or me. So we can't get the word out on that. At this point, we're approaching 1 million unusual, untoward deaths in the United States of America for this year. Last year, we had an additional 600,000 deaths above the average 500,000 that we usually have every year. This year, it's going to be almost 1 million above that. Next year, it's going to be even greater. So this stuff that they've done to you and me, done to us, is going to be taking a lot more of us out. So I know that you look around and you think, my God, there's not enough housing. Geez, look at the cars. There's not enough of a supply. Well, hang on, because when people pass away, they're leaving stuff behind. They ain't taking it with them. I don't give a damn how spectacular your Porsche was. You ain't carrying it with you. Well, I'm not going to let you go get buried in a GT3 or something like that. I'd like one for myself. Although I can't get in and out of it very well, so it might be nice to have somebody chauffeur me around in. How's that sound? Jamie, lug nuts, you'll be my driver. No, man, you're too rough on me. You toss me around side to side like a lateral roller coaster. I like smooth drivers. You're not smooth. Or at least you weren't smooth when you gave me that one ride around the track. What I want you to do is I want you to buy my Bibles and I want you to read the Bibles. I want you to read everything you can, but mostly read the Bible and stick to the Bible. The Apocryphal books are good to get. The book of Jasher, the book of the upright, that's a good one to get as well. There's some other, even some modern books that are pretty good to get. In case you're wondering, the man who understands what's happening on the earth probably the most as far as the physics go and the universal mechanics That would be Ben Davidson, Suspicious Observers. So you might want to get his book. I wanted it till I found out it was $75. I still want it, but I think I'll spend the money making the trip down to see him. When I get off this video, I'll enroll in that and spend the money. Feel free to pray for me, but pray to Yahweh. A lot of you want to pray to God. Well, here's the problem. We got the name God. It's kind of a catch-all, if you will, because there's lots of different gods. There's Moloch, for instance. There's the enemy's gods. And then there's Gadriel, from whom we got the name God, according to Pastor Paul Burnham. He passed away a couple of years ago. He was in Missouri. And so a lot of you are praying to the fallen angel, who was a member of the satanic class, by the way, who impregnated Eve. You want to pray to Yahweh. It's in the Bible. In your King James Bible, the word Yah, 3 letters, capital A, capital Y, capital A, capital H. It's right in the middle of Psalms, sitting there, probably about, I don't know what chapters it's in. I can't say off the top of my head. 58, 49, 108. It's in there somewhere. And I caught that. Well, that was the only time God's proper name, nickname form of it, appeared in the whole King James Bible. Yes, they screwed that up. Whereas you get this new Bible, which is a King James Bible, and we've got Yahweh and Yah, both in there. And we have Yeshua, the Messiah. And the word Christ is in there maybe 3 times. It's not as prominent as what they made it to be later in the Bible, as they tried to mislead us. And you'll find the study notes in the Bible are not offensive at all. See, the Bible interprets itself unless you have a Schofield Reference Study Bible given to us by those wonderful rabbis who love the world. Yes, a committee of rabbis put that together, and they hired Schofield, kind of a defrocked attorney, an unethical attorney, to be a front man. He didn't write that thing. And it has more footnotes and more comments in it than it does have Bible text. And it'll tell you, Moses was a Jew. There were no Jews back then. The Jewish faith did not begin until the Babylonian captivity, approximately 700 BC. The Israelites went and left the country, went into the captivity, and something else came back, and it was changed. It was a different religion. It was not Israelitish. It was Jewish. And what went into captivity was a patriarchy. What came out was a matriarchy. That's one of the tips you have on that. Okay, I've meandered on enough. I hope I've started this enough so that some of you might start commenting and helping me out here, because I don't want to remain a mushroom. You guys are keeping me in a vacuum and in the dark, and you're feeding me. Yeah. Do me a favor. Like this thing. Buy that Bible. Give the Bible away to other people for gifts. Start a prison ministry hauling copies of these Bibles. When you buy it through my link, the price is all in 77 cents. And the publisher says it's the lowest price anywhere. And they are cheap. I mean, it's about 1/3 the cost of the competitors' Bibles. I know they've been around longer. They're more established. But this is a far better Bible. I like the large print. Don't even have to wear reading glasses. Well, I don't always have to wear reading glasses. May Yahweh bless.